Hi, I'm DJ Sixsmith. You're watching The Sit Down. Nicole Kassell is here with us, director of Watchmen, episodes 1, 2, 8. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How's everything going?
Great, thank you.
So I saw episode 1, and my mind was just blown because there is so much going on in this episode, and for you as a director, you must be really proud of this. So first of all, congratulations on it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
What was it like preparing for this? Because I've read some other interviews with you. There's a ton of prep that goes into this. There's the biggest scenes that you've done in your career. How do you pull this thing off?
Bird by bird. You know, honestly, I read the script, and the first time I read it, just all these, my head was exploding also. All these visual ideas, images were firing. And, you know, I made a lookbook to kind of tell Damon, this is how I see the pilot. And it's very exciting to me now to look back at that lookbook and see, it's on screen.
Yeah.
So really, his words inspired certain images, references. It was Conformist, Clockwork Orange, Children of Men, and Rihanna video, Amelie, you know, just all these extremely graphic, noir, edgy references. And then I studied the comic, Watchmen, in depth to really bring a visual homage to the source. And that was incredible for looking at framing, framing composition, transitions. And I really wanted the fans to be able to look at it and feel the DNA of the visual look of the book in the show. And then, you know, it is this enormous canvas, and the only way to deal with it is, you know, scene by scene and being as truthful to that scene as I can be.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that because comic book fans are crazy. You know, they want it to be the way that it once was, but also for you as a director, you kind of have to have the vision to see it in 2019. So what was it like playing with that balance?
I really had to put the pressure of what other people might want somewhere else. All I could say is this is how I see it, and every director sees differently. You know, and I got to work with other directors on this show, and I've been a part of many shows, and it's always fascinating to look at these words and see what they inspire and how they inspire people differently. I sold Damon and HBO my vision, my taste, and I just put 1,000% of that into this. And all I can say is it's what I wanted to see and what I wanted to give to the world, and now I pray that people respond and love it, but that pressure is definitely there.
Sure.
You know, people have been asking how I feel now that it's out, and I literally felt like I was levitating yesterday. And I hadn't realized the degree to pressure that I felt for really almost 2 years.
Yeah, you're kind of in your own world. People haven't seen it yet. You're just doing it. And then once it gets out there, then you get all the different reactions. That's a whirlwind. How does this compare to other projects just in terms of the reception right off the bat?
It's off the charts. You know, I think with The Woodsman, my first feature, I remember going to Sundance and the first screening, feeling in the theater this electric energy and realizing, oh my gosh, my life just changed. You know, that my career has started now. And there's definitely that feeling with this, because it's just a whole other ballgame. And, you know, kind of getting reintroduced, re-seen, and, you know, look, I got to play on so many different aesthetics here. There's no box to put me in.
I like that.
Yeah.
It must be a cool thing to just do whatever you want to do in a sense, right?
I hope so. I mean, I think one thing, if you look at my career, is from Woodsman to Claws to Watchmen, they all are entirely different pieces. There's themes to me I see that show what I care about, but it's been so fun aesthetically. You know, Claws is as different from Woodsman as you can get. But again, it was like, that's that world, and it needs to, and it's true to that world. And I loved creating that world. And I wouldn't want to do it again. You know, so with Watchmen, it was a whole new thing. And, you know, with the question of what next, I just know it needs to be entirely different in my head to excite me.
So what are those themes that you care about as you look through all the different projects?
There's definitely diversity on screen. You know, and people you know, people, it's really leaving people with something to think about. You know, I think Watchmen, Woodsman, people were very frightened to see.
Yeah.
But, you know, from that moment, I knew I was changed when I saw that as a play. And my hope as an artist is to leave people either thinking or even changed. You know, and Claus bringing in a world of, you know, 5 female leads, 4 over the age of 40. Only 2 are white,
right,
and all different body sizes. You know, and the older woman, Niecy Nash, is in a relationship with Jack Kesey. But that's not the subject, it just is fact.
It's just part of the story.
And, you know, and again here, race is obviously front and center, but dealing with it in a very bold and direct way, you know, and making a comment on what's happening now. It just, that kind of thing of looking for pieces of art that inspire me personally, politically, and visually.
Yeah, I mean, this does all 3 of those things from Jump Street.
Off the charts.
No question.
Yeah.
So when you think about the times that we're in right now, like, of course, Watchmen obviously had its fan base from the past, but given where we are right now, like this really fits because it builds on that tension, and it also makes us question a lot of different things. So what were some of the questions that you guys asked yourselves as you were laying this whole thing out?
There was constant questioning, and I feel, you know, in many ways Damon really should speak to that because he's the storyteller. But just constantly, are we being responsible? Are we being responsible? Are we? And, you know, that's where in directing Tulsa 1921, I did an insane amount of research and was so careful in putting that on its feet because it's so disturbing and harrowing a story. It's horrific. And I was asking actors to play perpetrators and victims. I was asking the crew to be involved in this. We were asking that. And so just being, again, as honest and truthful to the scene at hand, and making sure everybody felt emotionally and physically safe. And that really does go to every scene.
Sure.
You know, Hung Chow is coming into the show, and she's Vietnamese, and you know, making sure that we got that accent accurate. You know, a lot, just wanting to, you know, we make mistakes, and just making sure as best as possible, being who I am, that I'm representing other people accurately.
What would surprise people the most about putting this whole thing together?
Makes me want to ask you what surprised you the most in seeing it.
Well, I mean,
you know?
just like just how grandiose some of these sets are, and also just even just pulling it off, like number of takes for the opening scene with all the different people there, or later scenes with Regina King running into buildings. Like, how long did those types of scenes take you? Like, how many different shots are you looking to get in those types of scenes?
It really depends scene to scene. You know, I'd say Tulsa 1921, we wish we had 3 days, but we did it in 2. The little black and white movie was done during pre-production in 1 day. You know, it's funny, some scenes that seem to be the hardest aren't. You know, the cattle battle was hard, but, you know, for me, actually, what I do in episode 8 was by far the hardest. And you would not know that, like going into it where you have 2 people talking.
Right, you weren't expecting that.
But it's interesting that, like, actually making 2 people talking visually interesting is much more challenging than a great big set piece. You know.
So let's talk about Regina King, because she's a wonderful actor, but we see her kind of go into different places that maybe she hasn't gone before. So that relationship, describe to me what that was like for you.
I'm so lucky to have known Regina for the last couple of years. We worked together on American Crime, and so we had a deep affection and trust of each other already going into this. And we both came onto it because of Damon's work and trust of him. So it was just a dream. And to see her, with all of the work she's already done, see her still show new colors and get to do something new was amazing. and it's throughout this season. Like, there's different shades yet to come that I cannot wait for the world to see. And we just happened to be in production while she was having this moment with If Beale Streets Could Talk.
Amazing, yeah.
And to be, I feel just so lucky that I got to be right in the background watching her go through this. And she was just a hero in that she'd go to the Oscars and then come to work.
It's pretty wild when you think about it, right?
The next day, you know, and you know, she came to work. She was ready. She was grounded. She was present. We had to pause a lot the last season to applaud her because the next award would come in. But what a gift, you know, to get to watch, to witness that up close was really amazing.
Totally. And with If Beale Street Could Talk, like, there's not a ton of screen time for her in that, but she's so impactful with it, and obviously a lot more screen time here too, but it's cool with the art that we have today that people can be in these small roles and really make impactful marks, or they can be the leads too, and like as a director, I'm sure it's fun for you to play with that. So how do you go about pushing actors, whether it's somebody like Regina who's in a major role, or you know, Tim Blake Nelson pops in that first episode, how do you push him to get to where you want him to be?
With these actors, you don't need to push them.
It's a little more hands-off?
No, you engage, and each one engages differently. Tim likes to talk who that character is in depth. You know, just each one had a very different process. I have them come in. I always imagine when I'm prepping for a scene, it's very important to me to organically feel how they would move in a space. Whether it's Don Johnson walking down that hall and greeting Looking Glass and then going in. But, you know, even if he's sitting versus standing, or when he stands, like all the subtlety of how power plays in a space as well between actors. But I watch them and then I give feedback. And it's definitely a dialogue. You know, sometimes I'll be honest, Regina will be like, I just, you know, if my note is going to make it seem too big, she calls it schmacting. She's like, just don't let me schmack. I'm like, I promise you. You know, but looking for a range, you know, so that in the editing room, the final choice can be made. Making sure they understand when a note is given, they didn't do anything wrong. It's great. Let's try something a little different. But again, with this cast, what's the gift of them is they take care of their characters. You know, we have so much going on. I make sure to look very carefully at the scripts, you know, for scenes that maybe should be rehearsed in advance. A lot comes out of it, the process of them choosing costumes for scenes, just why their character would wear something or not. You know, and with Yahya, it was really amazing to get to watch him. I just realized I can't tell you, do what he does.
Nice job catching something.
That was amazing.
But he does something.
But he, too, also just takes great, great care. And just the subtlety of how you pick something up says everything about that character. And, you know, he was right there taking that care of his character.
I gotcha. So I was talking to you about The Following off camera before.
Yeah.
That seemed like it had like its small, little, strong niche of an audience. Yeah. What was it like working on that? Kevin Bacon is obviously an important person in your career, but what was the most fantastic part of that experience?
It was amazing to come on The Following and get to work with Kevin again, because it had been 10 years. And to be reunited was so special. And, you know, I remember the very beginning of the first episode I did with him, I was probably most nervous because I just didn't want to let him down. And, you know, would we reconnect? And instantly we did. You know, every show I get to work different muscles. I'd never done big action set pieces. I mean, there's a scene in one of those where, you know, like 18 people get killed in a bookstore, you know, which is very hard to take on psychically. But technically, just really, you know, it exercised those muscles of much bigger set pieces, working with stunt actors and coordinators and big action.
I wish that show had a little bit of a longer runway.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
But each show kind of has its own situation.
Yes.
And and like if it was a few years later, maybe it's just automatically thrown on a streaming service. But being a broadcast network, it's a little bit of a different story.
Yeah. No, I learned a ton on that show. Marcos Siega is the producing director on that, and just the amount I absorb from every experience I've done is all reflected in this.
So what other worlds haven't you explored yet that you'd like to explore?
A lot.
Yeah?
We were talking musicals in the car on the way here. I was like, Rocket Man, I want to do that. I'm attached to do Last of the Mohicans, which will be great.
Nice.
1757, with a strong female and Native American presence. Just really getting to show a different perspective on a period film than is typically shown.
A lot of period stuff going on today too, which I think is good.
Yeah.
But like with a little bit of a different twist on it, which I like.
Yeah.
When did you sort of sense that shift, that it's just, like you said, like you've had such diversity in the shows you've done, when did you sense that things were starting to change where it's like, yeah, we're going to just flip this script and make it for a woman, or we're going to make this where it's just totally inclusive of what our world actually looks like?
Well, I guess it's always been a part of what I do, but seeing people really be more conscious about it is definitely the last 2 years. Me Too movement hit hard.
Yeah.
Opened a lot of eyes. There's still a lot more that need to be opened up, but
yeah, sure, absolutely.
But there's definitely been a shift.
Yeah, definitely a conversation we need to have, and changes that across the board need to be made. No doubt. So,
I mean, look at what Ava did with,
oh my gosh,
Wrinkle in Time.
Sure.
And just realizing, when a script comes in, I've gotten the synopsis, like, do you want, this is a synopsis. I'm like, it would interest me if we looked at it from a different perspective. Yeah. Something
you said before is that you looked at a Rihanna music video and it spoke to you. Like, when you look at a music video like that, what are you specifically seeing? Like, is it like that with TV shows, movies, like you just can't help it because it's the director's eyes, or how do you go about looking at things like that?
I think I really respond to the visuals, and that when I say that, there's cinematography and lighting and composition that is just, I take it and I immediately pull screen grabs from it because they're each frame is photo worthy, and that's my goal as a filmmaker and as an artist. I think there's a lot of work out there that puts story first, and story should always be first. But for me, my attention span maybe is a little bit short, and if visually it's not exciting me, I won't stay around too long.
I hear you. Yeah, well, Nicole, great to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations on this. Guys, check it out.
Thank you.
Watchmen on HBO. For Nicole, I'm DJ. See you next time here on The Sit Down.